Trigger warning. This video talks about gender treatment, gender violation and suicide. When I first made it, I was hard to hear because I was so upset. So I've written out what I was trying to say, and now I'm reading it, hopefully without too much emotion. A friend of mine is organising a set of personal experience videos for young minds, sharing experiences of mental illness to help destigmatise it and provide support so that people know that they are not alone. Now, I would not claim to be young anymore, but these events happened to me when I was, and hopefully the fact that I'm still here, still fighting the good fight, and generally happy, will help other people. I'm transgender. Since my earliest memories, I thought there had been some terrible mistake. I was a girl, but I had a boy's body. Growing up and living with this is a painful story in itself, but the mental health incident I'm going to describe happened after I'd crossed over and started receiving treatment. Unfortunately, my parents threw me out of home when I was told them I was transsexual. I went to live in Oxford and started hormone therapy. It was great. I was living as a person I'd always been, undergoing a late puberty, making all those disasters of fashion and relationships that female friends of mine had made years before. I was having fun and was happy. All was going well when I needed to move to London to work. Unfortunately, London NHS only dealt with a gender clinic that was both sexist and homophobic at this time. This is many years ago. It was a big bugbear of the trans community that you would only get treatment from that gender clinic if you were some form of extreme pastiche of the gender role, the gender you identified with, and that you were going to be strictly heterosexual in your new gender. Now, this view of transsexualism was based on bad science. Patients knew what they needed to say in order to get treatment and an operation, so they would present as an extreme stereotype and tell the doctor everything they wanted to hear on their checklist. People like me who said something different, showed they were intellectually independent, or would wear jeans, because real women don't wear jeans obviously, would get punished with our hormone treatment and surgery postponed. Thus, no one desperate for treatment would present as anything other than a very girly girl and say exactly what they needed to say on the doctor's checklist. The same applied to female to male transgender. The doctor would then say there's a clear clinical description that all transsexuals shared, and that others, such as myself, were clearly not transsexual. We now embrace the terms transgender because it's more inclusive. Now, people who know me know that this is red rag to a bull. I always stand up against bad science masquerading as fact, and against people who abuse authority. I told a Radio 4 programme called All in the Mind that this was bad science and threats of hormone and surgery denial were an abuse. Unfortunately, All in the Mind chickened out of broadcasting my reasoned arguments and turned their back on me when I was punished by having my hormone treatment removed. Now, it's very hard for someone who's not transgender to imagine what it's like to have your hormones taken away. But it is a violation of your body. There you are, finally living the person you are, and then the medical support you need to do that is removed against your will. As well as giving you secondary physical characteristics of your gender, such as breasts and softer skin, your hormones make you feel different and give you confidence. At this time, which is a number of years ago, the world was quite transphobic, and I was constantly asked to justify that I was as a woman. At least having a hormone showed that this was, that I had some proof to back me up and that I wasn't acting as some sort of spoof. I can't tell you how violated and stressed I felt at that. My body had been violated. Treatment to make me physically feminine, to match my mind, was forcibly removed. And the life I was living destroyed. It was a form of gender rape. I mentally could not cope with this, and I broke down. It is hard to describe my mental state because it doesn't really make sense to me now. Basically, I became defragmented, if that makes sense. It was happening to someone else. I had to put a cast iron barrier between the inner me and the world. I could not get close to people or deal with emotions. I flash back to how my life would have been if I'd been born with female genitalia. and was very, very sad. I was also angry with the removal of my treatment. I was so angry I thought I was going to have an aneurysm. The anger was at everything. Of course at the doctors for removing my treatment, but then my GP for standing by without saying this was wrong, the BBC for turning their backs on an important story, the world for making me physically a man when I was a woman, and the sheer frustration that no one would listen. I looked very mentally ill, and was, but people should not dismiss everything a mentally ill person says. There's often a reason why they are as they are, and they can be helped if this is tackled. I could not see any way out. I was physically becoming more masculine again. No one was listening to me. I remember being on the tube platform at Goose Street, and the anger and helplessness building up within me to a crescendo. I was going to jump under the tube when it came. Fortunately, I was so mentally fucked up, my mind was racing. I got distracted by the thoughts of abstract thoughts that if I do this, there will be no me. I will cease to exist. No one will understand the pain I was in, and others will go through when my treatment is removed. I had flashes of seeing my parents looking at my body in the morgue, and of me being unable to say that I was sorry for how I turned out. I wondered whether I'd be buried in a grave marked Heather or Warren, my old name. The tube came, I started to run, and then stopped and waited for the next one. I don't know how many times this happened, but I lacked the courage and talked myself into doing it another day. I'm glad I didn't jump. God, I'm so glad. Life was really difficult for a long period afterwards. Not only was I battling this mental trauma, but I had a rare illness which meant that for long periods of time I couldn't physically look after myself as well as mentally. I became homeless, but that is a history for another time. Eventually my parents and I came to an understanding of uncomfortable truths. They took me back and looked after me until I got on my feet. Although I did get my prescribed hormones again, I'm reluctant to trust the doctor ever again, so now I have a bank supply of the pill as a standby and will only take the pill as my hormone treatment. This is not the best treatment for gender dysphoria. You probably can see I look quite masculine still. But I need the security that if ever my treatments are taken away from me again, I'll be able to get them without a doctor's approval. Just as a good positive aside, only 2 politicians made an effort to listen to me when I was mentally ill. Tony Benn at the BBC and Jeremy Corbyn when I sat next to him on the tube. The Tory MP did nothing and avoided having a constituency meeting with me. Former Labour colleagues who I had campaigned for in the elections blanked me and avoided me as if I was somehow contagious. However, Tony Benn and Jeremy Corbyn did make the effort. I doubt they understood me, but they practiced what they preach and tried. So I want to say to all politicians, now mental health is being understood. Try and do the same. People do have a reason why they are in the situation that they are. I have by and large rebuilt my life. I continue to fight the good fight against abuse authority and use my experience as motivation to help make the world better. I'm still broken inside and doubt that will ever be fixed. I cannot really form relationships. But I have great supportive friends. Most people accept me as the woman I am, and by and large I'm happy. I'm so grateful I didn't jump. Now I can continue with my fight to make a difference with my life. I hope this is an inspiration. Heather.